I like to inform the committee that the draft decision on the committee's recommendation to the UNESCO Executive Board is being prepared and will be submitted for your consideration shortly. And another point is the election of the Bureau in item 17 will be taken up a little bit later, as a negotiation are ongoing in the regional group. I would therefore like to begin with the item 16 of the agenda. Item 16, order business. So if under item 16 devoted to the order business, I would like to inform you that we did not receive any comment, written comment. So I'd like to open the floor. If you have comment, please. If no comment, I think we can go straight to the item number 18A, because we have to wait for the 17th, the election of the Bureau. Now we come to the item 18A. I would like to invite Mr. Rao to present the provisional agenda of the 38th session of the World Heritage Committee, included in document Rpwhc 13/37.com/18A, which has been distributed in the room. Please, Kishore, you have the floor.
Thank you very much, Excellency. This document 37-18A was distributed to the committee this morning and presents the provisional agenda, which is for your consideration. The items are almost similar to the agenda for this session. We have tried to rationalize a few of the items, like combining the capacity building strategy and the progress report on the category 2 centers. As compared to the previous session, we are continuing to follow up on the Director General's meeting on the thinking ahead on the World Heritage Convention. A few of the reports that you had requested in previous sessions will be brought before the committee next year, such as the World Heritage Convention and Sustainable Development. You will recall that there were no reports on the thematic programs this year, and they will be presented next year. Items on the state of conservation and on the global strategy will continue to be there, including the big item on nominations and the continuing progress reporting on the upstream processes, including the many suggestions that were made at this session on how to provide further support to the states parties on this initiative. So we will bring all these items for your consideration next year. Next year we will also present the final report on the results of the periodic reporting exercise in North America and a progress report for the Europe region, just as we did for the Latin American region this year. We will also, because this will be the last region that will be submitted for your consideration, we will also propose that we have a reflection on the whole approach to periodic reporting and how we should support the states parties in ensuring effective reporting on their own, rather than having very heavy meetings in all the regions, as was done in this cycle, the second cycle. Perhaps we should take a break of a year or two before launching the third cycle of periodic reporting. We will present the final accounts of the World Heritage Fund for the current biennium and report on the progress of the next biennium, including any budgetary adjustments that may be required, because the budget that has been approved is presuming a full budget, meaning that all the states parties to the convention would have contributed, but if the situation is different, then we will seek your approval for a budget adjustment. And the other items are the usual ones, the election of the Bureau and deciding on the provisional agenda, etc. You would see the draft decision on page 3 of the document, and there are certain spaces which have to be filled in. You would recall that the chairperson mentioned that we had received the letter from Her Excellency Sheikh Hamayasa from Qatar, proposing to host the next session in Qatar, and also proposing the dates of 15th to 25th June 2014 for the 38th session. So those dates will have to be filled in into this draft decision before you adopt it. Thank you, Mr. Chairperson.
For the presentation, I invite now the committee member to express their comment concerning this provisional agenda. Germany, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. We can agree with the draft agenda. We think the important points are in there. I would like to take this opportunity, first of all, to thank the Emirate of Qatar for the invitation you just have mentioned. This will help us next year to have another very successful committee session. And as well, I would like to reiterate the offer of the federal German government to have the subsequent meeting in 2015 in Berlin. And it would help our preparations if this offer, I hope the distinguished committee can and will accept our offer. If so, it would help our preparations to have that somehow reflected in the decision, because this would help us already to allot a budget for the preparatory work next year and also, of course, for the year 2015. Thank you.
So I'd like to express our deep thanks and appreciation for Germany for having inviting the committee to hold the 39th session in Germany. So I take note of this, you see, and I think we will proceed accordingly, you see, to, I think, get the agreement, you see, for holding the 39th session in Germany. IUCN, you have the floor.
Thank you, Chair. I can see South Africa's plate is up. I don't know if you want to take the state parties before the advisory bodies. So thank you.
Africa, you have the floor.
Thank you, Chair. Just to briefly express our appreciation to the German delegation for Germany's offer to host, and we would support that if maybe in some way we can just reflect that in our documentation. I don't know under which point it might be best, but I'm sure it'll help the German State Party also to plan. Thank you very much.
Give the floor to Russia, please.
Спасибо большое, господин президент. Я тоже поддерживаю, хочу поблагодарить Германию и поддерживаю то, что здесь можно пунктом 5 в проекте решения отразить, поблагодарить Германию и отразить, что сессия в 2015 году пройдет в Берлине, поскольку действительно им надо все как-то отразить в своем бюджете на будущее. Спасибо. это им поможет это сделать. Спасибо.
France, vous avez la parole.
Merci Monsieur le Président. La France se réjouit de cette proposition allemande. Nous remercions les autorités fédérales d'Allemagne pour cette proposition que nous accueillons avec grande joie. Merci Monsieur le Président.
I give the floor to Mexico, please.
Gracias, señor presidente. México recibe con agrado la invitación de Alemania para invitarnos dentro de 2 años a la celebración del comité. Sabemos perfectamente lo que conlleva y lo que significa la organización de un evento como estos y creemos que justamente estamos en el tiempo para ratificar el compromiso de todos los Estados miembros de la Convención para que esto se lleve a cabo en este lugar. Gracias.
I give the floor to United Arab Emirates, please.
الإمارات تتوجه بالشكر لدولة قطر على استضافتها للدورة القادمة، ويسعدنا أيضا أن نعبر عن تقديرنا البالغ للدعوة ل 2015 لتنظيم اجتماع الدورة في ألمانيا. نحن نقدر لهم هذه الدعوة ونوافق على اعتماد هذا في الوثائق هذه الدورة.
Floor to Russia, please.
Уважаемые коллеги, у меня есть конкретное предложение. Давайте пункт пятым проекта решения сформулируем следующим образом. Decides that its 39th session will take place in Berlin, in brackets, Germany. Maybe our rapporteur will help me. It seems to me that it has to be very clear and easy formulation. Thank you.
Floor to the center, please.
Thank you, President. Subject to the confirmation of the legal advisor, I would like to draw attention of the committee to Rule 4.1, which says that the committee shall determine at each session, in consultation with the Director General, the date and place of the next session. So I would imagine that this committee cannot take a decision on the 39th session, subject to confirmation by the legal advisor, of course, and therefore I would propose that in the decision we can mention that takes note of the offer of the German authorities to, we can do that, of taking note, but what the distinguished delegate of United Arab Emirates mentioned by way of deciding, I don't think that the committee can decide a forthcoming session. Thank you very much, Mr. President.
Oui, nous avons utilisé très clairement le mot take note. Je donne la délégation du Cambodge, please.
Thank you, Chair. Cambodia just wants to echo our support to our previous speakers. Thank you.
President, just to clarify, it won't be reflected in this particular decision, but in decision number 17. We will come to that later, and we can recall, because you had already offered it previously, and so we will recall that offer and take note of that in item number 17 when we come to that. Thank you very much, Mr. President.
Sian.
Thank you, Chair. It was just 2 comments on matters that could be reflected on in terms of items on the foreseen agenda for the next session of the committee. One was on 5C and the follow-up to the Director General's meeting, and I think it's just to ask a question about how that might relate to the intention to carry forward the action in relation to that meeting in coordination with the follow-up to the evaluation of the global strategy that was considered by the General Assembly, and I think will be considered again this year, and also the strategic action plan for the convention, and try to harmonise these three reflections, which are all trying to point us in a sort of progressive direction with the convention into one space. So perhaps that item could take up all of those points under one item of the next committee's agenda. And the second was just, I think, on periodic reporting, that there is still the need to complete and really work out how we carry forward the action plan for Latin America, Caribbean. That's a follow-up action to this year's decision, and it may not need a separate item, but I think it will be important at the next committee to make sure we understand and also work out how we can support the agreed action plan for the Latin America, Caribbean region that flows from the periodic report. Chair, quite specific comments, and I think it's more about reflection from this meeting moving onwards, but for the record, I'll make those comments. Thank you.
I give the floor to Brazil.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman, when Brazil hosted the 34th session of the committee, under the request of South Africa, we tried to arrange the dates so that it didn't coincide with the World Cup. I would like to bring that to your attention, as now we are hosting the World Cup next year, and we should try to make an effort also not to coincide with those dates. Thank you.
Please, can you give the exact date of the Coupe du Monde?
I'll bring it to you right away.
Floor to the center, please.
Thank you, Chair. I already mentioned that Qatar has kindly offered to host the session from 15th to 25th of June. I would request the distinguished delegate of Brazil to see whether these dates are interfering in any way with the World Cup. They are?
Yes, they started on the 16th of June. Thank you.
I don't think we can do anything in that case. But just to respond to what IUCN mentioned on item 5C, Chair, if you recall the summary of the meeting from the Director General's meeting, the last paragraph mentioned that the follow-up action will be taken and mainstreamed through the implementation of the global strategy recommendations and the PACT initiative, etc. So that is implicit in the follow-up that is going to be made. Obviously also taking into account what the General Assembly will be discussing this November. So rather than mentioning all that in the title, we will include it in the document when we prepare that, and obviously we'll prepare it with the advisory bodies. On the action plan for the Latin America region, we will see how that can be reflected either in the Secretariat's report or as a separate document. But since there is already an item on periodic reports, we can easily add it later on if that's required. Thank you, President.
Rapporteur to
But you have to adopt this decision.
the decision. I think now I invite the committee to adopt the decision 37-18A. 18A, you have to take on the screen. So no opposition. The decision is adopted. now we come to the draft the statement on the recommendation. So, Rapporteur, please present the text.
Merci, Monsieur le Président. On a reçu une proposition de décision par Sénégal et aussi on a tenu compte de ce qui a été dit par la Russie tout à l'heure. Donc, on a fait une décision assez... on a fait une proposition pas très demandante. Donc, c'est à vous de vous exprimer si ça reflète vos souhaits. Je vais la lire. Invite le Conseil exécutif de l'UNESCO à maintenir son soutien à la mise en œuvre de la Convention du patrimoine mondial dans le cadre de l'exercice biennal 2014-2015 afin de permettre au Centre du patrimoine mondial de mener à bien sa mission. C'est une décision assez générale. C'est ce qu'on a pensé et pas très forte, mais c'est à vous, c'est à la salle de dire. Bon.
La parole à Russie, please.
Спасибо, господин председатель. Я не скажу сходу, как это сформулировать, но мне бы казалось, чтобы эта формулировка должна быть все-таки не такая общая и пожелательная. Она должна быть более определенная, и это определение можно вставить вот там, где сказать, что бюджет не должен сокращаться, или бюджет, или в рамках бюджета 2010-2011 года. То есть подчеркнуть, что мы говорим о том, что 20% вы не должны забирать из бюджета центра. Я вот не знаю, как это лучше по-английски сформулировать, но я бы вот предлагала это сформулировать более решительно.
Yes, I understand the reasons, but at the same time, and I think nobody more than Ambassador Mitrofanova knows that this is a decision really that the Executive Board is carefully looking. At the moment, it is only looking at priorities. The budget issues are not being discussed at the moment. So I think it will be a little bit difficult to go into very specifics now, because the Executive Board is facing a difficult situation, not only for the World Heritage Convention, but for the entire program of UNESCO. And I recommend that we don't, create additional problems in this very complex and difficult priority setting exercise. Thank you.
Suisse, vous avez la parole, please. La Suisse.
Merci, Monsieur le Président. J'aimerais fermement soutenir ma collègue russe. Quand on parle de priorités, les priorités ne sont pas logiques si elles ne sont pas accompagnées des moyens pour les réaliser. Donc, je pense, vu ma petite expérience des délibérations du budget, du Conseil exécutif, pardon, que un wording un peu plus fort qui montre la détermination des membres du comité de voir à ce que les priorités soient également suivies des moyens pour la mise en œuvre, extrêmement utile. Merci beaucoup.
Si vous pouvez, si vous aimez à proposer une phrase, sinon on ne peut pas s'avancer. Suisse.
Give the floor to South Africa, please.
Thank you, Chairperson. And we would also like to lend our support to the Russian delegation and that of Switzerland in terms of maybe more strongly calling. We understand that the priority setting is occurring, but this decision will stand actually for a whole year. And it will be useful for this decision to be a bit more clear. We could actually call on the executive board at least, not just invite the executive board. And we also could maybe highlight the importance of this convention. I think in the budget decision we made mention of the fact that this program is one of the flagship programs of UNESCO. If you speak to anybody about UNESCO, they put the World Heritage Sites, immediately draw that into relation to UNESCO. It is one of those things that actually put UNESCO on the map. So it's one of the flagship programs or conventions, if you want to call it, and we could work some language in there, but at least we can call on the executive board in the very least. Thank you, Chair.
You'd like to propose a sentence?
Chair, if you just allow me to quickly look at the budget decision, I can maybe propose something. Just give me a minute, please.
Board, sir, please.
Thank you, Chair. May I add to maintain its support for the effective implementation? I would like to add effective implementation of the World Heritage Convention. Thank you.
You have more comment, please? Like to South Africa, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chairperson. We could actually say to maintain its support for the effective implementation of the World Heritage Convention as a flagship of UNESCO, which is what we had in the budget decision, and maybe even, if I might propose that instead of calls, we can even go stronger to say urges, but that's up to the committee. The committee can indicate whether it would like urges or calls. Thank you, Chair.
Give the floor to Russia, please.
Of course, я не самый сильный человек, который говорит хорошо по-английски, поэтому я позволю себе, может быть, вы меня подредактируете, urges the Executive Board of UNESCO to maintain its support on the previous level of financial allocations for the effective implementation of the World Heritage Convention as a flagship program of UNESCO in the framework of the 2014-15 biennium point, maybe. That's all. It's not necessary to, once more, to speak about the... My feeling that, Executive Board will decide himself to keep it or not, but in my opinion, we have to be more strong and decisive, asking Executive Board to keep the same level like in previous years, the allocations for World Heritage Center.
Sénégal, vous avez la parole. Sénégal, vous avez la parole.
Merci, Monsieur le Président. Je dois avouer que je suis un peu réservé sur l'emploi des termes préinstrument et appel. Je ne connais pas bien les rapports qu'il y a entre le comité et le conseil exécutif. C'est peut-être une chose sur laquelle le conseil juridique pourra nous répondre. Mais je me demande si ce comité a le pouvoir de commander ou d'exiger ou même d'appeler le conseil exécutif à faire quelque chose. Parce qu'il me semble que ce n'est qu'un comité subsidiaire d'une convention, alors que le conseil exécutif est un des organes directeurs de l'UNESCO. Merci.
Yes, I request legal advisor to clarify.
I'm sorry, Mr. Chairman. Thank you for the floor. The question put concerns the funding for the committee, but I would be grateful if the member state that put the question could repeat it.
Sénégal, oui, si vous pouvez répéter la question.
Merci, Monsieur le Président. Je ne m'interrogeais pas tellement sur le financement que sur l'emploi des termes pré-instrument et appel. Je me demandais si le comité peut utiliser ce genre de termes, connaissant le genre de rapport qui existe, enfin connaissant la nature de ce comité qui est juste un organe subsidiaire d'une convention, alors que le conseil exécutif est un des organes directeurs de l'UNESCO. Donc je suis très réservé pour cette raison sur l'emploi de ces termes. Peut-être que le conseil juridique ou même M. Bandarel pourrait nous aider à éclaircir ce point. Merci.
Thank you, Mr. President. I understand the question now, and indeed Mr. Mandarin should probably add additional information if what I am going to say is insufficient. The World Heritage Committee is a body established by a convention. It is completely independent from the Executive Board of UNESCO, or it is established by treaty, and it is even conceivable as a hypothetical that if UNESCO, and I'm not saying this would happen, but if it happened, if UNESCO ceased to exist for whatever reason, the World Heritage Committee would continue in existence. It is because it is created by a convention, the treaty, and it has funding established by the Assembly of State Parties. Of course, because it is a UNESCO convention and it is under UNESCO, the funding that is determined by the convention, and I happen to have it here in front of me, it's in the, without prejudice to supplementary voluntary contributions, the state parties undertake to pay regularly to the fund contributions, the amount of which in the form of a uniform percentage applicable to all states shall be determined by the General Assembly of State Parties meeting during the sessions of the General Conference. And then in no case shall the compulsory contribution of state parties exceed 1% of the contribution to the regular budget of UNESCO. Perhaps Mr. Bandarin can clarify these provisions and how they are applied in practice. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. And I think from the legal point of view, you heard, obviously these two bodies are in cooperation. They are autonomous. This has been discussed in the past decades many times, and there's been a clarification. The World Heritage Committee and the Executive Board are completely autonomous bodies. At the same time, the Executive Board is the governing body of the organization that supports the Secretariat of the Convention. This convention, unlike other conventions, is managed within an international organization. So there is a possibility, and we have done it in the past, for the committee to recommend, support, etc., actions of the Executive Board. But at the same time, I think that it is a very, very special moment for the life of UNESCO. We are facing a situation which is not normal. In the past, we were sort of looking at more or less, say, support, some increase in the budget. So now the organization has to face a very, very special organization. All the programs of UNESCO will be cut, not just one or two, or education, science, culture, all of them. So, and this is a very difficult decision to take. So I think that, but just it will be very difficult to single out one of them to say, no, this one, is untouchable, because there is no specific reason from the point of view of the member states of UNESCO. Some of them may not agree. Some of them, when they say the education is as important. So I think that by adding these strong words, and I apologize, Mr. Mitrofanov, I think we don't make a service to the Executive Board, which has a very complex task of balancing this very difficult act at the moment. I think it's very good that the committee somehow appeals and calls or expresses its concern or whatever, because this will be seen. But I don't think you can put language that is too binding, because any other program could do the same, and then we will not have any positive outcome. Thank you.
Rpwhc, please.
Уважаемый господин Бондарин, я очень хорошо все понимаю, и мы были активными участниками всех этих бюджетных последних рабочей группе и так далее. То, что мы имеем на выходе этой рабочей группы, этого бюджета, это опять, как бы это лучше сказать, каша, размазанная по тарелке, тонким слоем. И по существу, в общем, это был интересный эксперимент, конечно, то, что мы имели в исполсовете, вот по выработке приоритетных областей и так далее. Но, понимаете, здесь нельзя сравнивать с другими областями. Всемирное наследие – это то, в первую очередь, с чем знакомы страны-члены, чем ЮНЕСКО выделяется от всех, ну, скажем, других организаций. Это наша реально передовая конвенция. Мы очень, вот уже последние 4 года, как я вот сама наблюдаю, мы во многом недовольны, как работают вспомогательные органы, мы не находим с ними общего. Но ведь этому есть понятное объективное оправдание на самом деле. А как они могут работать, если нет денег? Они очень поверхностно работают, они не могут глубоко работать. У нас сейчас почти что 1000 объектов. Поэтому я считаю, что здесь можно большую деликатность не проявлять. Совершенно спокойно можно закрыть что-то в рамках как раз вашего сектора, перераспределить деньги в пользу Комитета всемирного наследия. И мы совершенно спокойно можем это сделать. А страны-члены уже там посмотрят, так или нет. Поэтому я считаю, что нам наоборот нужно пожестче сделать обращение, а не такой призыв в никуда. И я предлагаю слово urges the Executive Board of UNESCO, а там уже посмотрим, дебаты на исполсовете покажут. Спасибо большое.
Le Combo a demandé la parole, s'il vous plaît. Vous avez la parole.
Thank you, Chair. I'm sorry to get maybe you can say too greedy, but I was thinking about using also giving the alternative of previous by adequate, because I was thinking that the fund might change. The need might change, or when it comes to the level of financial allocation or the money. But no, I go along with this. Doesn't matter.
Give the floor to South Africa.
Thank you, Mr. Chairperson, and we'd like to thank Mr. Bandarin for his comment, and we agree, that you can't bind the executive board to do anything, and it's good in terms of what our colleague from Senegal pointed out, to be cautious. But if we were instructing the executive board, that would have been a different issue. All we're doing now is making the strongest possible call. And if we water this down here, then what are we saying to them in actual fact? Many of the states that are in the room is also on the executive board. So they will take the issue up there, but they will go there with a strong mandate from our side to try and do their very best to provide sufficient funding. So we'd really be keen to see the word urges. If it was anything more legalistically binding, we would not have agreed with it, but this is just a call. Thank you, Chair.
Please, if you have more comment. So I think if we can adopt this proposed text, so no objection. La décision 37 comme 15.11 est adoptée. Now nous passons au 18B. Dear colleague, we will now examine the question of the feasibility of an additional session of the World Heritage Committee. I now give the floor to Mr. Rao from the World Heritage Center to present document WHC 13/37.com/18B, which you have in front of you. Please, you have the floor, sir.
Thank you very much, President. This document, which is a brief feasibility study on an extra session of the committee during the biennium, comes from a decision that was taken at the 35th session in Paris, and the last session in St. Petersburg asked for this feasibility study to be carried out. The idea is essentially to have another session of the committee convened during the years when the General Assembly meets, together with the General Assembly, and to have an agenda which looks at strategic and policy issues, and to look at state of conservation reports on sites that need urgent attention. Now, in terms of the feasibility study, we have given the pros and cons of this proposal on page 2 of the document. Undoubtedly, the main consequence of having an additional session will be financial. There will be significant financial implications, and we have shown the financial implications on page 4 in the annex to the current document. More than that, it is also the cost which has to be reflected in terms of staff time, both within the Secretariat as well as within the advisory bodies. And the timelines. The timelines after this session ends, imagine that we have to get the decisions out within 1 month, the report of the committee within 3 months, and then before 6 weeks of the next committee, we'll have to dispatch the documents. There is practically no time to prepare documents and to dispatch them within the statutory time limit. More than that, I don't think if another session was to be convened, there would be adequate time for the implementation of the committee's decision by the states parties, by the Secretariat and the advisory bodies. So, Mr. President, what we are proposing in the draft decision is not to decide on a third ordinary session during each biennium, and possibly come back to this issue in 2015 at the time of the next General Assembly, the 20th General Assembly. Thank you, Mr. President.
And the floor for comment and observation, please. I see no observation, no comment. So I now declare the decision 37.
There is no amendment.
I now declare the decision 37-18B adopted. And the agenda item 18 is now closed. And now we come to 19. Dear colleague, we now come to the examination of item 19, which is the last item, but we have 17. We will come back to 17.
General Assembly.
I would therefore like to invite Mr. Rao to present the provisional agenda of the 19th session of the General Assembly of State Party to the World Heritage Convention, which is included in document Rpwhc 13/37.com/19. This document should be read jointly with document Rpwhc 13/37.com/INF.19, containing the draft report of the World Heritage Committee on its activity for the 19th session of the General Assembly of State Party, which will be, as you know, transmitted to the General Conference. Please, Mr. Rao, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. President. This is the provisional agenda for the General Assembly, which will meet from 19th to 21st of November, together with the General Conference in Paris. This is a classical agenda with several reports being presented. The committee will be presenting its report on the two sessions that were held during this biennium, the 37th session and the 38th session. 37th session, the 36th session, as well as the report of the rapporteur of the last General Assembly. It will look at the accounts, determine the amount of contribution, and most importantly also elect members of the World Heritage Committee. As you all know, that there will be 12 vacancies in the committee this year, so members would have to be elected to fill those 12 seats on the World Heritage Committee. Mr. President, there are two important items which have been discussed here on under several agenda items. Principally the follow-up to the recommendations of the external auditor of UNESCO on the global strategy and on the PACT initiative, and the work that the open-ended working group did in preparing the implementation plan. So this will go back to the General Assembly for consideration, and the strategic action plan which the last General Assembly adopted, we will be presenting a progress report on that as well. So those will be two major items of a strategic and policy nature, and the others are basically looking at reports and electing members to the World Heritage Committee. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you for the presentation. I invite now the committee member to express their comment concerning this provisional agenda. No comment?
Observer.
Brazil. I give the floor to Brazil, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, for giving the floor to an observer state. Mr. Chairman, we see this agenda, and there is an issue that is of our concern, which regards the elections to the World Heritage Committee. During the last session of the General Assembly, a number of countries expressed their concern for the lack of geographical balance in the membership of the committee, especially countries of Group 3 of GRULAC expressed their concern that this should be brought again this next General Assembly. Moreover, after the work of the working group on the follow-up of the recommendations from the external auditor, there were many times the issue of members of the committee should not present their nominations during their terms of office. And that goes against the spirit of Rule 14.1, paragraph C of the Rules of Procedure of the General Assembly that stipulates that at each election one seat shall be reserved for states party with no property on the World Heritage List. So for us, there is indeed need for revision of the Rules of Procedure of the General Assembly. I think the committee should not miss the opportunity to put this on the agenda item. That's why we take the floor at this stage to suggest that one of the committee members suggests the inclusion of an item on the agenda for the revision of the Rules of Procedure of the General Assembly. Thank you very much.
Would any committee member support the inclusion of that idea? Colombia, you have the floor.
Gracias, señor presidente. Simplemente para mencionar que Colombia, por supuesto, toma nota de los comentarios del delegado de Brasil y quisiera que se pudiera incluir en la agenda de la Asamblea de las Partes este punto en consecuencia justamente de la discusión que tuvo lugar durante la pasada Asamblea de 2011, así que solicitamos que se pueda incluir este punto en el orden del día. Muchas gracias.
The floor to Mexico, please.
Gracias, señor presidente. Nosotros iríamos en el mismo sentido, apoyando esta propuesta que el delegado de Colombia y también el representante de Brasil han hecho con respecto a este punto para incluirse en la próxima reunión. Gracias.
Give the floor to United Arab Emirates, please.
الإمارات ومن وحي النقاشات التي دارت في هذه الدورة حول النظام الداخلي وانطلاقا من أن هذه المسألة قد تم مناقشتها في الدورة السابقة للجمعية العامة واضعين في الحسبان ما دار في النقاش عن مدى صلاحية الجمعية العامة وما يتصل بصلاحية اللجنة في موضوع النظام الداخلي، لكننا نؤيد طرح هذه المسألة على جدول أعمال الدورة القادمة للجمعية العامة. نؤيد اقتراح كولومبيا والبرازيل والمكسيك.
Thank you. I give the floor to another state party. Belgium, please.
Oui, merci, Monsieur le Président. Avant la fin de notre session, je voudrais pouvoir donner lecture d'une déclaration qui a été préparée par les observateurs de plusieurs pays. Et je mentionnerai la Barbade, la Belgique évidemment, la Côte d'Ivoire, la Grèce, la Hongrie, le Niger, le Pays-Bas, la Pologne et la Slovaquie. Alors pour respecter l'égalité des genres et des langues de travail du comité, je commencerai l'intervention en français et mon collègue poursuivra en anglais. Je vous remercie. Monsieur le Président, Excellences, Mesdames et Messieurs, membres du comité, nous sommes réunis ici depuis plus d'une semaine à l'invitation du Royaume du Cambodge, que nous, observateurs, nous remercions de son accueil et de son hospitalité. Cette 37e session touche à sa fin et les observateurs que j'ai mentionnés souhaitent faire part de leur point de vue concernant quelques questions qui ont été discutées. Nous commencerons par vous remercier du travail important que vous avez réalisé pendant toute cette session. Toutefois, nous souhaitons demander un retour au principe de la Convention et une dépolitisation des débats. L'Assemblée générale, en élisant les membres du comité, leur donne la lourde responsabilité de veiller à la mise en œuvre de la Convention et des recommandations qu'elle adopte. Pour nous, l'objectif commun du comité, du Centre du patrimoine mondial, des organisations consultatives et des États parties est et doit rester la conservation des sites du patrimoine. Les paragraphes 1 et 2 du préambule de la Convention sont clairs et je voudrais mentionner le second. Considérant que la dégradation ou la disparition d'un bien du patrimoine culturel et naturel constitue un appauvrissement néfaste du patrimoine de tous les peuples du monde. Nous souhaitons donc que les sites et leur valeur universelle exceptionnelle soient remis au cœur des débats.
Mr. President, the richness of the Convention lies in its objective to create solidarity and a common responsibility for these sites, regardless of their location. From paragraphs 7 and 8 of its preamble onwards, the Convention deals with the collegiality in relation to our heritage. Articles 6 and 7 of the Convention are also essential in this regard. That is why the fathers of the Convention, in their wisdom, mentioned in Article 9, paragraph 3, that, and I quote, states members of the committee shall choose as their representatives persons qualified in the fields of cultural and natural heritage. As observers, states parties to the Convention, we urge the committee to spread the message of experts and to enhance the international solidarity on which it is based. In the spirit of democracy, which we all treasure and which has been invoked several times during this session, the General Assembly had appointed an open-ended working group to consider the recommendations of the external auditor following the assessment of the Global Strategy and the PACT initiative. We deeply regret that the committee decided not to consider its conclusions in full. Thank you, Chair.
See, I give the floor to Russia, please. Russia, please. To Russia, please.
Уважаемые коллеги, я поддерживаю предложение Колумбии и Мексики, что этот вопрос предварительно можно было бы ввести в повестку дня. Правила процедуры всегда полезно время от времени пересматривать. Спасибо.
Observer Sudan, please.
Merci, Monsieur le Président. Je voudrais commencer par vous remercier de me donner la parole et de m'avoir donné la parole la dernière fois aussi, que j'avais parlé beaucoup trop longuement, donc veuillez m'excuser. Je voulais simplement dire que le Soudan soutient la proposition du Brésil, les États membres qui ont précédé, et que nous pensons qu'une répartition géographique plus équilibrée serait dans l'intérêt de l'UNESCO et de World Heritage Council. Thank you.
I did not see more. Sénégal, please.
Merci, Monsieur le Président. Je voulais juste, la délégation du Sénégal souhaitait juste appuyer la proposition qui a été faite par le Brésil pour avoir un comité du patrimoine plus équilibré en termes de représentation géographique, parce que avec le système actuel que nous avons, par exemple, je pense on pourrait se retrouver dans une situation où, lors du prochain renouvellement du comité, l'Afrique pourrait se retrouver avec un seul siège. Et je pense que cette situation n'est pas souhaitable. À mon avis, il faut réfléchir sur les moyens et les meilleurs scénarios d'avoir un comité plus équilibré. Merci.
I now invite you to adopt the draft decision 37-19 concerning this item. Are there any more comment or objection? So I now declare the decision 37-19 adopted. It is now time for us to elect the new person, the new chairperson of the World Heritage Committee, and to also proceed to the election of the vice chairperson and of the rapporteur of the 38th session of the World Heritage Committee in 2014. As you all know, Qatar invited the next session of the World Heritage Committee. I understand that the delegation of Germany wishes to propose a candidate as a chairperson of the 38th session of the World Heritage Committee. Germany, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I would like once more to thank the government of Qatar to have decided at short notice to invite the committee in 2014 to Doha. In this spirit, I would like, as it is customary, a representative of Qatar to be the president. More specifically, I would like to propose Her Excellency Sheikha Al-Mayasa bint Hamad bin Khalifa Al-Thani. Her Excellency Sheikha Al-Mayasa bint Hamad bin Khalifa Al-Thani has played a pioneering role in the fields of culture, education and outreach, spearheading and supporting a number of local and international organizations. As the chairperson of the Board of Trustees of the Qatar Museums Authority, Her Excellency Sheikha Al-Mayasa guides the vision for cultural projects and the creation of future museums with the aim of transforming the state of Qatar into a leading center of culture and education, both locally and globally. The Museum of Islamic Art, the flagship program of QMA, embodies Her Excellency's vision of bridging East and West as well as past and present. In addition to her work on cultural initiatives, Her Excellency Sheikha Al-Mayasa is the chairperson for Reach Out to Asia, a philanthropic, non-governmental organization that is dedicated to assisting the victims of recent natural disasters, as well as aiming to improve the quality of primary and secondary education in Asia. Her Excellency is also the founder and chair of the Doha Film Institute, and under her aegis, the DFA, the Doha Film Institute, has become Qatar's leading international film organization, dedicated to cinematic appreciation, education and building a sustainable film industry in Qatar and throughout the region. Through her involvement with the DFA and other local and global initiatives, Her Excellency Sheikha Al-Mayasa continues to play a leading and important role in the development of Qatar's cultural and intellectual vision. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
So the delegation of Germany proposed the candidature of Her Excellency Al-Mayasa. So you have the floor, please.
Thank you, Chair. We would like to support the proposal, the proposition made by Germany. We had the privilege of listening to Her Excellency during this session, and we look forward to the meeting in Qatar, which we believe will continue the same standards of professionalism and the collegial meeting that we have just had. Thank you, Chair.
Merci, Monsieur le Président. Nous soutenons également cette proposition faite par la délégation de l'Allemagne. Merci. Merci, Monsieur le Président.
Russia, have the floor, please.
Уважаемые коллеги, мы с удовольствием поддерживаем предложение о председателе Комитета всемирного наследия, которое было сделано Германией. Спасибо.
Merci, Monsieur le Président. Le Cambodge souhaite également la proposition faite par l'Allemagne. Je vous remercie.
Please.
Merci, Monsieur le Président. La délégation malienne soutient la candidature proposée par l'Allemagne. Merci. Nous soutenons, oui.
Oui, please.
Je dis que le Mali soutient la candidature proposée par l'Allemagne.
Oui, merci. Merci.
Merci, Monsieur le Président. L'Algérie soutient la proposition faite par l'Allemagne pour la présidence de la 38e.
Merci. La Malaisie.
Thank you, Chair. Malaysia does support the proposal. Thank you.
Japan, please.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. We are also very happy to support this suggestion. Thank you.
Go, please.
Gracias, señor presidente. México deja el comité en esta ocasión, este periodo, pero notemos con enorme entusiasmo la realización del próximo comité en Qatar y por lo tanto la apoyamos vivamente. Gracias.
شكرا سيد الرئيس. نحن ندعم ترشيح قطر ونعتبر هذا مفخرة للمجموعة العربية بصورة كاملة. شكرا سيد الرئيس.
So South Africa, please.
Thank you, Chair. South Africa also supports the proposal made by Germany.
Please.
Muchas gracias, presidente. Por supuesto, Colombia agradece profundamente la invitación del gobierno de Qatar y apoya la propuesta de la delegación de Alemania. Muchas gracias.
Arab Emirates, please.
شكرا سيد الرئيس. نحن ندعم الاقتراح الألماني وكما عبر زميلنا من العراق ستكون هذه استضافة للمجموعة العربية وتكريم. شكرا.
Please.
Merci, Monsieur le Président. La Suisse félicite le Qatar à nouveau et soutient la proposition de l'Allemagne.
Sénégal, please.
Merci, Monsieur le Président. Le Sénégal souhaite également féliciter le président pressenti et puis évidemment soutient la proposition de l'Allemagne. Merci.
Ethiopia, please.
Thank you, Chair. Ethiopia supports the proposal of Germany. Thank you.
Knee after Serbia. Knee, please. Estonia, you have the floor.
Sorry, Mr. Chair. Estonia is also grateful for Qatar for its generous offer to host the next meeting, and we support the proposal made by Germany. Thank you.
Please. La Serbia, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Serbia also wishes to join the previous speaker and congratulate Qatar for organizing the next session and supports the German proposal. Thank you.
Now, you see, with the support we hear from the committee, I now declare Her Highness Al-Mayasa bin Ahmad Al-Thani elected. So let me congratulate Her Highness for her election, and let me express all my best wishes for her task ahead. We will now elect the 5 vice chairperson of the committee.
Qatar wants the floor.
Who? Qatar, please.
شكرا سيدي الرئيس وأشكركم على إعطاء الكلمة. دولة قطر تخرج من هذا الاجتماع من هذه الدورة بفرحتين: فرحة تسجيل موقع الزبارة كأول موقع لدولة قطر على لائحة التراث العالمي، وفرحة أن تكون أول دولة خليجية إن لم تكن عربية لاستضافة إحدى دورات هذه اللجنة الهامة. وفرحتنا أيضا أن تكون سعادة الشيخة المياسة بنت حمد بن خليفة آل ثاني هي التي ستترأس أعمال دورتنا القادمة. والشيخة المياسة تمثل جيل الشباب الذي تحدث عنه اليوم صاحب السمو أمير دولة قطر في خطابه صباح اليوم، الذي أعلن فيه تسليم مقاليد الحكم لجيل الشباب المبدع البناء. وستجدون دولة قطر فاتحة أدرعها لكم لاستقبالكم في العام القادم، فأهلا وسهلا بكم في الدوحة، وشكرا.
We will now elect the vice chairperson of the committee and the rapporteur. Africa region. I give the floor to South Africa, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chairperson. South Africa has the pleasure of nominating Senegal as the Vice Chair of the African Group. Thank you, Chair.
Shall I take it that the committee agree with the proposal? It is so decided. So now it is so decided. Senegal represent Africa. Asia Pacific region. Is there any proposal to present a candidate in representation of the Asia Pacific region? Thailand would like to take, you have the floor, please.
Thank you, Chair. At the outset, I would like to express our belated congratulations to Qatar for hosting the 38th session of the World Heritage Council. As for the Vice Chair from the Asia Pacific region, I have the pleasure to propose Japan as the Vice Chair. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Shall I take it that the committee agree with the proposal? So it is so decided. Now Europe and North America. Is there any proposal to present a candidate for the Europe and North Africa region? I give the floor to Switzerland, please.
Merci, Monsieur le Président. Nous saluons les décisions qui ont été prises jusqu'à maintenant et nous vous proposons d'élire à la place de vice-président l'Allemagne, qui nous a déjà fait savoir qu'elle se propose de nous accueillir, d'accueillir la 39e session à Berlin dans 2 ans. Merci.
Shall I take it that the committee agree with this proposal? It is so decided. Now we come to Latin America and the Caribbean region. Is there any proposal to present a candidate for the Latin America and the Caribbean region? Mexico, you have the floor, please.
Gracias, señor presidente. México tiene el honor y el gusto de proponer como representante de la región del GRULAC a Colombia a ocupar una de las vicepresidencias del próximo comité. Muchas gracias, señor presidente.
Shall I take it that the committee agree with this proposal? It is so decided. Now we come to Arab region. Is there any proposal to present a candidate for the Arab region? Yeah, I give the floor to...
Уважаемый господин председатель, я еще вчера вам подала письмо письменно о том, что от Восточной Европы мы предлагаем Сербию. И поэтому по процедуре вы должны были представить вообще-то для начала это письмо, а не оставлять его в самый конец. Спасибо.
I'd like to give the floor to legal advisor.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I don't want to abscond my responsibilities, but I believe that this is a matter for the member states on which I really cannot provide legal advice. Thank you.
We did proceed. I thought that the committee member did proceed to the consultation. And now after consultation, we still got problem. So how to take decision now?
The committee has to decide.
Yes. So I ask our colleague committee member, is he to take the floor. I give the floor to United Arab Emirates, please.
شكرا السيد الرئيس. نحن طلبنا الكلمة لغرض آخر، لكن إذا كنت تود أن نتحدث عن ما أثرها الوفد الروسي فإننا نرى أن هذا الأمر يعاد النظر في المسألة بالكامل يعني، ويعاد التشاور يعني على هذا الموضوع، ولا نمانع من التشاور فيه، لكن لا أعرف يعني ماذا تعنوا بأن تتشاور اللجنة على ماذا؟ شكرا. يعني بمعنى آخر أنا كنت بصدد ترشيح أحد من المجموعة العربية، ولكن عندما فتح باب النقاش بشكل آخر الأمر يعود للرئاسة واللجنة.
Excellency, are you proposing the candidate for Arab region? Because I did ask her a question, is there any proposal to present a candidate for the Arab region?
نعم سيد الرئيس، نحن نرشح الجزائر، ونحن أيضا منفتحين على أي مشاورات، لكن المجموعة العربية ترشح الجزائر كما أبلغت.
Decision on the Arab region, and after that we will come back to Europe. So if shall we take it that Russia, you have the floor.
Уважаемый председатель, у нас консультации же проходили и проходят. У нас еще есть кандидат от Восточной Европы. Это Сербия. И вы знаете, что у нас получается немножко, так сказать, вот непропорционально. У нас получается, что мы предлагаем 6 заместителей. Это было всем известно накануне. Зачем мы утверждаем сейчас кандидатуру за кандидатурой? Я предлагаю подумать, что чтобы от какого-то региона тогда был репортер. Потому что обычно всегда замы, председатель и репортер – это все люди из разных регионов.
I am to make comment about that.
Thank you, Mr. President. I clarified the issue in the Bureau, and you did as well, Mr. Chairperson, that the chairperson of the committee and the rapporteur are elected by name. They are not representatives of any regional group. And Rule 12.1 of the Rules of Procedure, which pertain to the composition of the Bureau, clearly stipulates that there will be 5 vice chairpersons. Thank you, Mr. President.
We will take decision on Algeria, and after that we will come back to that. So shall I take it that the committee agree with the proposal? You see, Algeria as a vice chairperson representing the Arab region. It is so decided. Now we come back to Europe. Yeah, we elected Germany. Now what will the request? India, you'd like to take the floor? Please.
Chair, I've been far too long on the floor. But we could, I think, if you identify the rapporteur, I think that would solve the problem. So maybe we could work the other way. And do we have a suggestion? Do we have agreement on the rapporteur? Thank you, Chair. Which is by name.
Thank you. We have now to elect the rapporteur of our next session. Is there a committee member that wishes to propose a candidate for the position of rapporteur of the 38th session of the committee? Unit, please.
شكرا سيد الرئيس. نحن في وفد الإمارات ومن واقع متابعتنا لأداء الزميل العزيز من كولومبيا فرانسيسكو غوتييرز نعتبر أنه سيكون الشخص المناسب في مهمة مقرر الدورة القادمة مع تقديرنا بأن هناك كفاءات كثيرة ولكن رأينا من واقع التجربة أن نتقدم بهذا الترشيح والأمر يعود للجنة.
Shall I take it that the committee agree with the proposal? It is so decided. So congratulations, Mr. Francisco Guterres, for your election. Now how to... Floor to Russia.
Уважаемые коллеги, ну я прекрасно понимаю, что у нас действительно председатель и репортер выбираются в личном качестве. Репортер тем более должен обладать определенными личными, так сказать, качествами, знаниями и так далее. Это очень важная фигура. Но вообще-то всегда на прежних комитетах, если посмотрите, мы вообще всю эту картинку брали вместе. Несмотря на то, что, так сказать, были, поэтому, может быть, если мы выбираем репортера из Колумбии, то мы все-таки вернемся к вопросу о Сербии как вице-президент.
The floor to India.
Thank you, Chair. I wish that the rapporteur could be 2 persons or even 3, but since we have one, and there is now no, unfortunately, no other country from the GRULAC, from the Latin American region, I think the problem solves itself. I think we simply elect Serbia as Vice Chair. Thank you, Chair.
I think the committee member did raise an issue concerning Colombia. So if Colombia would like to take the floor.
Muchas gracias, señor presidente, y por supuesto quiero dar las gracias no solamente a Emiratos Árabes por haberme propuesto para relator y para un cargo tan honorable y para asumir una posición tan honorable para el comité en el cual por supuesto Colombia tiene un compromiso profundo y lo considera como un órgano muy importante para promover las buenas prácticas, la cooperación y sobre todo para enfocarse en lo que es la conservación del patrimonio natural, cultural de la humanidad, que es por supuesto su objetivo último. Yo he de reconocer que por supuesto he asumido mi participación en este comité a título de país, como representante de mi país y por supuesto en nombre también de la región del GRULAC. Justamente fue sobre esa base que Colombia resultó elegida vicepresidenta hace un año para representar a la región. En ese sentido, para mí, repito nuevamente, a título de país es un honor para Colombia tener la relatoría del comité para el próximo año y nuevamente les agradezco acá a todos y cada uno de los delegados, embajadores que me han hecho saber su buen punto de vista sobre esta situación. Yo lo único que quisiera comentar, sin embargo, es que tal cual como lo abordamos hace un momento, señor presidente, en el punto 19, justamente al momento de discutir sobre la agenda de la próxima Asamblea de las Partes, evidentemente, como usted podrá ver y como lo comenté esta mañana en la reunión de la mesa, América Latina y el Caribe a partir del próximo noviembre o a partir... Es decir, este es el último año en el cual América Latina tiene cuenta con 2 representantes en el comité porque aún no se han llevado a cabo las elecciones del mismo, lo cual ocurrirá en noviembre. En ese sentido, Colombia será el único estado de la región de América Latina que quedará en el comité. Justamente y con base en ello es que esta mañana en la reunión de la mesa, vuelvo a lo que mencionaba hace un minuto, señalé o pedí aclaraciones al consejero jurídico en el sentido de que la América Latina, al estar desafortunadamente poco representado, subrepresentado en este importante comité, de todos modos sí debería mantener la vicepresidencia. Yo aclaro nuevamente que Colombia resultó elegido hace un año para ejercer esta responsabilidad, la cual por supuesto la hemos ejercido con todo compromiso y justamente fue lo que a mí me permitió eventualmente, y doy las gracias, aprovecho para dar las gracias al señor presidente, su excelencia Sok An, por haberme permitido el gran honor de haber podido estar en la silla del presidente temporalmente para continuar con los trabajos del comité, pero independientemente de eso, para mí y para mi país representaría, digamos, cierta dificultad el hecho de que América Latina pudiera, o el hecho de tener la relatoría, significara perder la vicepresidencia, dado que por supuesto esta es una región subrepresentada desafortunadamente en el comité. Entonces quisiera tal vez dirigir este comentario, no sé si a la Secretaría o al asesor jurídico, para tratar de tener aclaración sobre este punto. Muchas gracias, presidente.
Dona parola, Macy.
Muchas gracias, señor presidente. Con todo respeto a todos los miembros del comité, pero creo que aquí se están confundiendo las cosas. Una cosa es la vicepresidencia y el relator no representa a un país. No entiendo por qué están pidiendo otros estados parte que no haya un relator colombiano y un vicepresidente colombiano, cuando se está pidiendo, y disculpen que lo menciono así, sería descabellado que nosotros saliéramos en este momento diciendo que la relatora es Serbia y por qué se está proponiendo a Serbia para una vicepresidencia. Son cosas totalmente distintas y nosotros no podemos aceptar que se esté negociando si es relator o si es vicepresidente Colombia. Son cosas distintas.
Уважаемые коллеги, ну это, конечно, не тот вопрос абсолютно в данном комитете, не такие уж принципиальные это должности заместителей, вот, но меня просто удивляет другое, почему наш председатель так демонстративно проигнорировал письмо, которое ему было направлено еще вчера, и вообще даже не упомянул его. Вот это непонятно. А так, комитет уже все решил.
Now I ask the legal advisor, you see, for more comment.
Thank you, Mr. President. I don't know that I'm going to be of too much help, but according to the rules of the committee, as has been stipulated, the Bureau has a chairperson. In this case, the chair has been elected from Qatar, 5 vice chairs, and a rapporteur. And it is correct, in response to the question put by the rapporteur, that the rapporteur is elected in his or in her personal capacity. The rule concerning geographical distribution is Rule 13.3. As the members of the committee know, there is no rule among the rules of procedure of this committee for election of members of this committee per regional group. There is no specific geographical distribution like you have in other organs of other conventions, that you have to elect so many members for this group, so many for the others, etc. That doesn't apply. In the same way, the rule for the Bureau stipulates that in electing the Bureau, due regard shall be given to the need to ensure an equitable representation of the different regions and cultures of the world, and a proper balance between the cultural and natural heritage as provided in the Convention. It doesn't define regional groups. In the rules of the Executive Board, you do have a division by regional groups, Group 1, Group 2, 3, 4, etc. That doesn't apply here strictly as in the Board, and in the Green Book, the Constitution of UNESCO, you have the definition of regions with a view to the execution by the organization of regional activities. And the regions are Africa, Arab states, Asia, the Pacific, Europe, and Latin America. I don't know whether that in any way assists the members of the committee in making a determination. Thank you, Mr. President.
Give the floor to Russia again.
Уважаемые коллеги, я уже сказал, не надо по этому вопросу спорить. Мы не будем настаивать на то, чтобы Сербия заняла. Просто я хочу сказать, что сам принцип был нарушен. И, конечно, мы ничего не имеем против Германии, они в 2015 году будут председательствовать. Вопросов нет. Но был вопрос, который нужно было решить до того, а не давать нам какие-то решения, которые кто-то уже где-то принял. Такие вопросы обсуждаются заранее.
See, the morning I did raise the issue in the bureau. You see, I suggested that it should be very serious consultation between Russia and Switzerland, because Switzerland proposed Germany and Russia proposed Serbia. We were fully aware about that. You see, I make very clear suggestion that Excellency the Ambassador of Switzerland and Excellency the Ambassador of Russia should have very serious consultation, you see, to get consensus. And recently, you see, before we take up this issue of election, I was reported that everything is sorted out. Consensus reached already. That's why we start the item of the election. Now we still meet with a problem. Yes. Since the morning, I suggested that maybe we should start the role of Serbia as a rapporteur, because we know that there is a confusion like that, the coincidence. But now everything is done. Yes. Yes. I even told the rapporteur, just now, you see, that she should be the next rapporteur, because I didn't see the easier solution. You see, but now we got stuck. So how to do?
Уважаемые коллеги, мы не застряли. Мы примем такое решение, которое вы предложили, господин председатель. Я просто, вполне возможно, что мы не услышали, что надо провести консультации со Швейцарией, и что-то сами не поняли. Поэтому я считаю, что вопроса нет. Мы уже всех выбрали, утвердили и должны утвердить решение. Все.
Floor to United Arab Emirates, please.
شكرا سيد الرئيس. فيما يتعلق بهذه المسألة وفي ضوء ما أشارت إليه المستشارة القانونية وحرصا على أن لا يحس أحد من أعضاء اللجنة بأن الأمور تسير دون أخذ الاعتبار بأي مقترحات أخرى. إذا كانت قضية أوروبا الشرقية في هذه اللجنة ستكون قضية مطروحة في هذه الدورة أو في أي دورة قادمة، فنحن نعتقد بأن التعامل مع هذه الحالة يمكن يتم من الآن. وإذا كان هذا الأمر مقترح الآن فقط، فالأمر يعود للدولة التي طرحت هذا المقترح، وهي روسيا الاتحادية. إن كنتم بصدد مناقشة هذا الأمر الآن، فالهند طرحت اقتراح أنه في ظل عدم وجود أي مشكلة قانونية نحن لا نمانع، ونحن في الإمارات نوافق على هذا الترشيح أن تكون صربيا يعني أو من يقترحوه من أوروبا الشرقية ممثلة في هذا في المكتب. وإذا كان النقاش لم يعد واردا في هذه الدورة فالأمر متروك لكم. شكرا. أما مسألة المقرر فأنا كنت من المتحمسين لاستمرار زميلتنا من صربيا، وأنا من المرشحين لها في الدورة السابقة وهي تعرف ذلك، ولكن قيل لي ربما أن هذا غير واردا أو وأنها لا ترغب، يعني هكذا نقل لي، ولذلك لجأت إلى ترشيح زميلنا العزيز فرانسيسكو، وأنا واثق من ترشيحي وواثق وأقدر مساهمة الزميلة جاسنا في هذه الدورة، والكل يدرك ذلك، وشكرا.
So I thank Her Excellency Ambassador of the Russian Federation for her flexibility, and I thank all the committee members. I now declare the item 17 closed. Dear colleagues, we have now finished with our work. We will convene our session tomorrow, 3 p.m., to adopt the decision on this session. Thank you very much. We meet again tomorrow, 3 p.m. Thank you.